Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are EBS, your experienced technology partner, and we've been in business for over 45 years. We specialize in the deployment of Sage, business management, and Microsoft solutions, managed services, and secure on-premises and cloud-based infrastructure. My name is Darren Tolley, and I am one of the account managers here at EBS. Today, we are joined by CIM Services, who we've partnered with for many years. CIM are a Sage tech partner and provide advanced manufacturing solutions for Sage 200 and Sage 50. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Yusa Santi, who will provide an overview of Cim200 Manufacturing, which is fully immersed within Sage 200 Professional. For any of you still utilizing the Sage legacy manufacturing, this is particularly relevant following Sage's announcement that the old modules would no longer be available following the release of version 2025 Release 2, which is expected towards the end of this year. We are recording today's presentation and we'll make this available to you in the next few days. There are lots of recordings on our YouTube channel. Remember to hit subscribe to receive notifications when we load new videos. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, or there will be an opportunity at the end of the presentation in the Q&A session. So that's enough from me. I'll now pass you over to Yusa. Morning, Yusa.
Good morning, Darren. Thank you very much for the intro. So, like Darren mentioned, my name is Yusa Santi, and I am the Cim200 product manager here at CIM. And I have got a few slides to cover today. So if I move on, so there you can see a rough agenda for today. I have a couple of slides I mentioned, but the bulk of this presentation will be spent in software itself. So I'm not gonna bore you too much with a PowerPoint presentation. But as you may be aware, as Darren just mentioned, Sage have declared end of life of Sage 200 Manufacturing. What this means is that the next release of Sage will be the last version of Sage 200 that will have the Sage 200 Manufacturing install shipped with it. And additionally, Sage will end all the support for Sage 200 Manufacturing by end of this year. What this means is, for the current Sage 200 Manufacturing users, is that not only will you be operating on a supported business critical software, but also with Sage 200 Manufacturing installed, you will not be able to upgrade your standard Sage going forward until you've done something with your manufacturing solution. Our solution to replace Sage 200 Manufacturing is Cim200. It has the look and feel of Sage 200 and Sage 200 Manufacturing, with quite a few enhanced features that you can take advantage of. It is continuously developed solely in the UK, with a wish list and roadmap published regularly. Cim200 is also fully endorsed and accredited by Sage. To upgrade from Sage 200 Manufacturing into Cim200 has been simplified with our migration tool that will take your manufacturing data into Cim200, and you can switch from one system to another with minimal disruption. The migration tool also allows you to bring even the works order history over, so you will have access to those old works orders directly from Sage if you need to reference to them in the future. So what would be the key reasons to choose Cim200 Manufacturing as a replacement to your existing solution? I hope that during the demonstration you will see how familiar the interface is and how the workflows and information is more accessible than in standard Sage. We have, as I mentioned, we have a published roadmap of new features, which is heavily driven by our wish list, where you can look feature wishes as well as upvote existing ones. And we've mentioned we are heavily focusing on customer requests. So CIM200 is a modern manufacturing solution with numerous most wanted wish list items from Sage. We have in excess of 50 Sage wishes that we are fulfilling with CIM200. That means that it's not only enhancing the manufacturing elements, but we have a number of additions to stock, sales and purchase order processing, as well as BOM module, which we are using the standard Sage stock or commercials module as well as the BOM module, but with number of enhancements. But enough of me talking about the through the slides. So let's have a look how CIM200 actually looks and feels like. So hopefully you can now see standard Sage, familiar look. So this is so CIM200 sits within Sage 200 as a module, exactly the same way as a Sage 200 Manufacturing. On the left-hand side, like I mentioned, we are enhancing on the stock control, sales and purchase order processing, as well as a bill of material module, and the planning, namely the MRP, and works order modules are completely written by us, but we will look into those in a moment. Let's start with the stock control. It's easier to ease into that. And if I have a look, you can see there is a familiar stock list. And this gives you a good idea how many new features we have introduced into the stock item in itself. But along with the new functionality on the stock items, what we have, let's pick up espresso machine as it is still the morning and I need my espressos in the morning to keep going. But like I mentioned, we're trying to give a little bit more streamlined workflows as well as a little bit more information on your fingertips throughout the software. So one of the key things that we have introduced is a stock profile. So stock profile is your one-stop shop for all the stock figures, what you have in stock, how many you have allocated, how many of these you have in free stock. If you have any purchase orders, sales orders, or works orders open for that, we can filter by these tabs here. And one nice thing about CIM200 on the sales orders we have introduced is that you can have, this is a single sales order line, but you can have multiple dates on a single sales order line. Okay. If all of that, you could have if there are any works order demands, outstanding works orders, if any of these items are in a quarantine, goods in transit, where you can define transfer times from one site to another. But that's something that we can look into more detail on a more detailed demos if needs be. We also have real-time stock projection as well as MRP stock projection for the item, and all of that can be filtered by a warehouse. So let's say have a look what is Berlin. There's nothing going on in showroom. I have few in stock, but there's nothing else going on, and all of my transactions are in warehouse location. Commercials tab gives you a little bit of what has happened in the history. So it gives you a cost price variances in the 12 months, but this being Sage demo data, I have to go back a little bit further and okay, to take financial year of 2021 just to see any transactions, and we can give you a graphical representation of a cost price history as well as how many you have purchased in terms of quantity and value, as well as what has been your sold quantities and values. So all of that on your fingertips here. From this screen, we can jump directly into viewing a stock item history, which is the standard Sage stock item history screen. But what we are including now is that what was the stock holding within the warehouse on that date, and what was the overall quantity within that warehouse. So I could go have a look on the 16th of December. I had 149 in warehouse, and 154 all in all after the transactions. From here, you can also go and view the stock record, which again, like I mentioned, it's a standard stock, Sage stock that we are utilizing, but we are giving you far more options. For instance, on the planning settings, you can define, we can aggregate demands for days, months, weeks, and replenishment options. Actually, I'm going to go into edit stock item. That's or amend stock item, where the fields become available. So we can aggregating demands by period of days, weeks, calendar months, and that will then combine those demands or replenishments over the into buckets. And one of the key things in Cim200 is that the replenishment options are that you can order exact quantities, minimum order quantities, but where it starts getting interesting, which is not available in standard Sage, is like you can have a minimum order quantity plus order multiple. So I could say my minimum order quantity is 100, but after 100, I can always go and order it on multiples of 20. So you can build up those recommendations to your liking. We also have stock item alerts, whereby you can add alerts wherever you are utilizing. It's like a supplier and customer alerts in standard Sage, but when you can put those to pop up on a sales order entry, for instance, or if we enter it onto the quotations. One big thing is, well, Cim200 is bringing into the table is to give you a audit log, and this audit log is on stock items, bills of materials, works orders, as well as sales orders and purchase orders. From here, you can have commercials tab that we had a look at. Quite a nice thing what we can utilize directly from Cim200, which is part of a package. You can create customer part numbers for specific customers. You can have different part numbers for different customers with different descriptions, for instance. On the stock item level, you can go into the quality control by adding the items to go into the quarantine. You can attach inspection templates for stock items when they go into the quarantine, that you have to fulfill some questions and set some parameters and utilize who can do those inspections, and byproducts as well. So you can set something to go into stock when you're receiving this item through works orders or purchase orders. On the supplier side of things, we've done a couple of things, but first of all, here we can see we have a OTIF reporting on the stock item level for each of the suppliers. So you can see the OTIF percentage for the last 2 years. Also, you can start calculating your kilograms of CO2 equivalent that is associated with that, with the item. So you can put your carbon footprint calculations and start building those. And you can start using supplier price breaks on a stock item as well. Most of the other things are pretty standard Sage. We have enhanced on warehouse hierarchy. You can see we have the goods in transit, which is definable period when transferring from one location to another, and that feeds into the MRP transfer recommendations and such like. But if we have a quick look on items, we have the customer part numbers list. Should I say the my items, but you can see you can have customer part numbers which relate to your stock item codes. Rapid entry stock movements is quite a nice thing. So you can add stock, write off stock, to stock transfers on the multi-line entry, where you can set the default values on the item, where they go, and I could say I have a few of these, it's not available in that location, but I can get 10 onto that, override the cost prices if I needed to, and add another item going from there, and you can move them into the quarantine for inspection as well. But we will be able to utilize multi-line entry rather than going one at a time, adding stock, writing a stock, and stock transfers. So you can do that on all of those areas. Right. So that's one thing. Some of you might be aware, if you have traceable items, that you cannot do traceable item stock takes. With Cim200 you can. You can also prevent anyone utilizing the items in the system if they are on entering count states in a stock take. So we can prevent from that. To give a little bit further opening what Cim200 brings into a standard sales functionality is that we have the goods in transit. You can make any stock item field a mandatory field. So all the list there, and then we can add more stock item. If you have custom fields, for instance, they can be made mandatory. We have a quarantine. We can enforce all the sales returns to go into the quarantine for inspection. And then preventing stock take when stock take is in there printed or entering count stage. On the commercial side of things, we do have some quick texts. I'll show you that there's a library of quick text functionality. I will show you that in a moment. We can have markup types on the quotations, for instance, and we can have quotation revisions, which I will show you shortly as well. And OTIF reporting, I will touch on that very shortly. And available to promise is available on pro formas, quotes, as well as sales orders. So that's where you set it all up. Right, I talked about the quarantine. So let's hope I have some items in the quarantine here. So we can see we have something that came off a works order and something that has been received through purchase orders. And it will tell me which purchase orders and works orders they came from and when and how many is waiting for the inspections. So let's take, for instance, this works order, quarantine inspection. So I will be able to utilize and get all the information, add attachments and such like. And then if anywhere rejected, and I would say, for instance, one, I could choose whether I will transfer this onto another location, most likely a quarantine location that is not being seen as a replenishment, because in Cim200 that is an option that you can have multiple different types of quarantine warehouses. So you can have a quarantine warehouse whereby it's been seen as a replenishment, or you can have a quarantine warehouse where it hasn't been seen as a replenishment. But both of the areas we will need to set detail that you will have to perform an inspection before you can utilize it elsewhere in the system. If you're inspecting a item that came off a works order, you have option to either write it off, transfer stock, or generate a rework works order for that additional work that might be required. From here, you can also see if it's been required by another item, or again, you can go and view a stock profile, what else is going on with this item. Like I mentioned, there's a one allocated, 95 in stock, 94 which is in free stock. We have a sales order line, but that's allocated. That's why it didn't pop up that it's required anywhere. And outstanding works orders for that particular item. So we still have few coming in, and again we can see the MR stock projections directly from here. So that gives you an idea whether you have to react to the inspection failures if you had any. Okay. So I mentioned OTIF. So if I have a quick look on that one, so let's find out it's fairly new, but we have the supplier OTIF inquiry. So there you can filter which customer you would like to have. This pulled from defaults. I think I have to go a few years back on that one. Again, because of Sage demo data, and I can go and run for that 4-year period of time, how many sales order lines we've had from this particular supplier, how many have been on time, how many have been late, and it gives you an average days late for those lines, and it will take into account lines that have been partially receipted as well, if you choose to do so. So over here we can see we have a few late deliveries. Average days late is 17, OTIF percentage is 99, but because of peculiar nature of Sage, standard Sage, you do not need to enter a requested date, which is a bit strange because we don't have a metric to run against it. So we give you an option to exclude orders with no requested dates. And if you raise everything from MRP, of course, there will be always a requested date. So I can run that again against the orders that has got no got the requested dates, and then over here I can see I have some that have been late. You can also run that through by a stock item, and I can see different OTIF percentages for different items and how many days they have been late. Can be quite a powerful tool, and of course you can export this to Excel as well. Right, so I have covered quite a lot of from a stock control. Next, I would like to show you something on sales order side of things. So first of all, if I would show you, if I open a stock item here I have a ready-made order, and we have introduced available to promise screen. So that tells me all the sales order lines on that sales order. You can choose which one to run it for. You can change the default settings, so you could update all the lines to the latest dates that they are available. But I just leave it as that. I calculate the dates, and now it says I have multiple dates that I can promise deliveries for these items. It can be that I have replenishments coming in forms of works orders or purchase orders. It might be that I have a existing sales orders creating the demand that this new demand will have to wait for it to be replenished first. I might have some in stock. So on this one, I had promised to deliver in 5 days time, the first 13, the remainder 17th on the 22nd. And I can have multiple delivery dates for the line item generated from here, or I can make them all to be for the latest date, like a 22nd here. Like I mentioned, we have the audit log. I created this morning, so that's all recorded. If I change quantities and values, that will then change. What I will show you next is a quotations. So what we have done there. So I have a quotation, and you can see I have my revision numbers. Now, what I can do is to go and start utilizing my items. So when I showed you the quick text items, so I can go and utilize command lines, go and use a quick text because it's a sales order processing. It filters it for that, but I can also filter these in, and I can change that to, let's say, 12 o'clock, and I can customize those, but they go into as a sales item. What we can also do is to add a new stock item. Say that goes from here, put some quantity in, but now we can configure this existing bill of material record by changing, let's say, we don't need these items, but we need this item in order to do that, and we do costings from there. So I can cost up or quantity, and that will give me a new cost for that, and calculate the markups and such like, and I can save that. I also have an item that's a free text item, and for free text item you can actually go and configure a bill of material. So there's a couple of items that are required. Create a new quote. I can create that for a customer. Well, actually, let's use that for we go. Let's use Berlin as a default location. Then when I start adding items, I could use that espresso maker, and remember the alert pops up now. So I can put a couple of those, let's say 15 of those I want. Then I can go and add a standard item. So let's get one of our kitchens. Let's say we need 10 of those. But then we can go and configure this because the customer say, oh, I don't want to have this sink unit. I have a sink unit in place. But I would like to have a oven in its place. Could go and amend the operations if I wanted to. Then I can go and cost it. And I get the total cost for my line. Save that. Then I can go and create a free text item. Which I can go and create a completely new bill of material record, or I can copy a bill of material for that. So I can choose which one I want to. Let's go with that, but we don't need the carcass for it. I can save that. I can save this. And now I have a quotation with a free text item with a configured BOM item and a single item. And we get all the costings of the different phases, whether it's a labor or material costs. Then I can run available to promise again for that if I wanted to. Go and have a look. When could I actually promise to send this particular quotation out the door? And we will then get the dates. This one today because there's no times. This one on the 20th of June because it's quite a long build time. And the next one is the 22nd because of the supplier lead time. Yeah. And then I can save this. So that's mainly the addition to sales orders and quotations. So you can have multiple order lines or multiple dates. One item I did not mention actually is that you can create a back-to-back works orders. So if you're rating a sales order line, you can get a back-to-back orders raised on the back of it. Right. So as you can see, there's been quite a lot of additions to standard Sage. So from there, we can go and have a brief look at the bill of materials, and then we go into the manufacturing elements. So if I would pick up any bill of material item from here, so we have a couple of different items. So we have a base items, which is one to many. So you would make this item, but the output items of the completion items from the works order are completely different. We can have multiple components lists. So you could have a default set of materials, but you can also have alternatives. Same with routings. So you can have different sets of operations against a bill of material record. And all the rest of it is pretty standard. Let's pick up a little bit of a better example. I think there is something on this one. So from here we can go and view well, CO2 expected CO2 emissions will be for the item, and they will tell you where those come from. And then you have an audit log again for all the changes that has been done with this record. So that's bill of materials. Of course, you can trial kit one or many bills of materials as well as works orders. But when we go and have a look on works orders in itself, so let's pick up the draw unit and let's go and view that. So this is where you can start seeing the little bit differences in screen in itself. So we bring a little bit more information on the main details area. Of course, your manufacturing instructions are there. Any links to the parent orders, sales orders, works orders will be there. Memos, components, but we can give a lot more information on the bottom of the screen for component side of things. Same with the operations. So we can go and view, we can have a look at the resources that are required for that. And all of that is visible directly from here. Subcontracting area is in within a works order in itself. And we also have a subcontracting list view giving you all the required operations. Costings have the original estimated. If you make any changes to the working BOM, you will get a last estimated cost. And then as you're posting time, materials, and all of that, you will get the actual costs. And you also get actual CO2 equivalents for a works order, which can be different from a expected, with all the breakdown of what has been where all the CO2 costs and calculations come from. And of course, you can have the audit log from here again. So that's a very quick look at the works orders. So from here, there are number of different things that we can do. You can post timesheets manually, or you can use SFDC through barcoding. We don't cover that today, but that is also available. You can enter operational costs, which are just any costs for that works order. So you can put operational costs. You can enter additional costs. So do I have anything? We have nothing predefined, but let's say we would have a works order 27. We wouldn't take a customer Costa coffee. Let's say we spent £5 on the coffees there, set the nominal, and you can confirm that, and that will feed in to the works order costing directly. So that additional cost went straight there. If I have a look, we know exactly what cost was associated with the works order in itself. And when we are here, we can also show now that I'm going to amend works order detail. We can issue stock, allocate stock directly from the works order, but we can also do it from generically from here. So from here, we can go and have a look how to process the works orders, and see there's a different color coding for the items. So we have some red there. That means that they are either conflicted or they are already overdue. We have some in green, which means that they are progressing or finishing on time. We have some subcontract, which is shown on blue, so you can schedule subcontract operations and everything else. Over here, we also have a progress bar, so you can see darker green, so it will tell me that it's actually 52% complete already. And you can probably see there's a separation between the different operations here. That will just mean that we don't need to lock the operations to run back to back. I could move the last operation out if I wanted to, let's say over here. And if you have a look on a QC, there's one that's a little bit darker red. It moves out with it. And now my colors change into orange, meaning that this order will be late because it's due on the 18th, and I just moved it out to the 25th. But if I move it back here, it is now showing that it will be on time. You can also view items that are for customers, so you can customize your columns what are showing, and you can group the items by that as well. On the bottom of the screen, might have seen some resources. So we have all of our resources showing, but these resources, they are mostly red. That means that there is a resource conflict. So let's say there's two operations going through the same resource at the same time, but I just know that I only have one of these resources available. So if I move it onto a different item, on a different within the same group, you can see the color coding changes, and it's not conflicting anymore. Now there will only be late. We can set maintenance for the machines as well, or holidays for the employees, depending on how you want to schedule. This particular scheduler has been scheduled to schedule labor as well as MRP recommendations, which are these ones here, subcontract operations, as well as machine operations. So there's quite a lot going on this screen. But this shows you overall how it will work with the operations. The resource view, however, will give you an idea of the loading of the resources. So if I hide whatever is not being used, makes it easier to read. But we can see like assembly machines is 200% loaded, so it's overloaded. We can't really do anything with these particular items. If I start moving my operations within that resource back, you can see that there's no longer overloaded, but it's still showing red because we have a conflict here. So this is conflicted. I can move this back, take another operation out. Oh, now I'm working in the past. That's my bad. So if it's finishes on in the past, it will show that it will be there is something wrong with that. So I could go and try to resolve my resource conflicts by moving the items within they groups. I wouldn't be able to take an operation from fabrication into assembly because they are different. They're grouped differently. However, the utilization of the resource is being calculated all the time, and we will show you which works orders or recommendations are contributing and how much time within that resource. So that's a very brief overview of Scheduler. So once you have done your amendment, you can just upload, and it will upload every single operation within Sage or CIM. So have a still quick look on the planning side of things. So we do make the stock sales forecasts. There is one thing that was a bit of a bugbear on Sage 200 Manufacturing is that you couldn't schedule MPS and MRP to run back to back overnight. But with Cim200, we have renamed MPS to demand schedule. Does the same thing pretty much, but you can actually schedule it to run whichever part of the day you want on a schedule, so automatically, typically overnight. But if you want to, you can run the MRP whilst everyone else is working in the system. So if I would refresh my MRP, even I can keep on working. So if I would run the MRP, I could just minimize the screen and keep on working and do other transactions within the system. It's quite efficient, so it's nearly run already by the bit of a limited data set. But it is super quick. And MRP will give you recommendations to build or buy items. Should look very familiar to Sage 200 Manufacturing recommendations. So you can, from here, you can always view the tags. You can see what is the demand, and if I have any replenishments coming in for it. But we have split this into a number of different list views. So we have recommendations. If you have excluded any recommendations, we tell you why. We show the demands, replenishments, replenishment warnings. So if you have any purchase orders or works orders that are not arriving in time to meet your demands, we will list it over here. Can give you rescheduling recommendations. So instead of having raise new and or cancel and raise new, if you have date or quantity changes, we give you rescheduling recommendations. And we also give you recommendations to do transfers if you have a hierarchy set up that way. So you will see that you need to transfer the quantity from a warehouse to warehouse. When do you need it? When do you need to transfer? And if you have a transfer time defined, like I mentioned on goods in transit, so if it's a 5 days, it will tell you to transfer the item 5 days before it is actually required. Right. Hopefully you have seen, I've only touched the very high level of CIM200 capabilities. So there are many, many more, but more than welcome to have a look at those in more in-depth demo. So if you are convinced that CIM200 is a good solution for you, the adoption of CIM200 couldn't be easier. So we have a migration tool to migrate your existing and historical manufacturing data into CIM200. And once the test system is set up, there will be a period of training, typically a few days, and changing the manufacturing reports and layouts to look at the CIM200 records. And that is pretty much it. So migration tool is so powerful that the demonstrations of CIM200 can be done even with your own data. So if you're open to that, that is something that can be, the demonstrations can be delivered with your own data and your own processes. So thank you very much for joining us today. If you have any questions, I think now could be the time, or you can ping Darren and the team questions if you have any.
I can't see any questions, you. So there, I mean, you've already answered one of the queries that I had, which was about how quickly could you deploy the solution. In terms of licensing, that's the only thing that I'm not quite sure about, is what is an add-on to the standard, if you like, kit.
So it works as a suite of add-ons, but it is a suite, so we don't break it down. So everything you've seen today is included in the module cost. So audit logs, customer part numbers, any stock additions, configurable quotations, works orders, planning, graphical scheduler, they're all included as a packet in a package.
Perfect. The only thing that obviously isn't is the shop floor data capture, but
yeah, that's an additional module. That's why I didn't cover it today necessarily, and because there's so much to cover in CIM200. So I thought we can have a look at that separately.
Right. Well, thanks very much for showing us that today. Very impressive. And as you said, if any of you out there would like a sort of one-to-one demonstration, we can organise that, and even with your own data if needs be. One other reminder is that we have our annual Thrive event, which is scheduled this year at Moore Hall Hotel again for the 18th of June. So if you go to ebs.tech, our main website, I think on the opening page there are registration details there. And CIM200 will also be with us that day.
Yeah, I will be there.
Sorry, it will be with us that day.
Yeah, I will be there.
Okay. Thank you very much again. Thanks all for watching, and we'll hope to see you again soon. Take care.
Thank you.